Boy, if you're watching this video, something must have made you think for a minute that there's more to this. You want something more. You're looking for a path, something better in your career or to advance in your life. And I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me to kind of give you a path, to give you an idea of a way to get there. I've had those feelings myself, and I think they started when I was in junior high, is when I really started realizing that there was something better and I wanted something. I wanted to achieve something, and I had goals, but I wasn't sure how to get there or what I needed to do. When I was in school, I wasn't a very good student. Now, I tested off the charts when it comes to reading comprehension and math and all those things, but unfortunately my classroom was out in the hallway. I spent more time in the hallway probably than I did in the classroom, because I was always talking, I always had ideas, and quite frankly, for me personally, school was boring. It was boring. I wanted things that applied in my real life that I could go and do and use and understand it right now, right? And so when it came time to do projects and things like that, man, I was all about that stuff. The other challenge I had when I was in school was I was a small kid. I wasn't very big, and I tended to get picked on and bullied and those types of things. So that messed with my self-esteem quite a bit. But I always knew there was something more that I needed to achieve. I enjoyed sports. I played baseball. I liked to pitch. Sports was great, but I wasn't the best athlete, and shoot, I wasn't even in the middle for that matter, right? But I really enjoyed sports. Then I found the Boy Scouts, and what was unique about the Boy Scouts and what I liked, I loved challenges. I loved the outdoors, a lot of hands-on things and getting dirty and exploring. So there was a lot to that, but what I didn't know until many years later in life, which we'll get to in a little bit, was that the Boy Scouts started teaching me things about leadership. They had the Scout Law. All of the different tenets of the Scout Law they had, where you would be in charge of groups of people. You could be a patrol leader and things like that. And while I was in the Scouts, I advanced and got a lot of different merit badges and did a major project in the community and ended up becoming an Eagle Scout. I achieved the highest level that you could as a Boy Scout, and I was an Eagle Scout. But I still wanted. There's just something internal in me that knew that I could achieve more. There was a lot that I had in me, and I was just a young kid. One day I was sitting at my grandmother's house, and we were sitting on the couch, and we're looking up at the wall, and she had all these pictures of my uncles and cousins, and they were all headshots, and they're headshots of them all in the military. Our family tree, it was a whole bunch of people that went in the military and served in all branches of the military, doing all types of things, flying helicopters, leading troops, a bunch of great things. But as I looked up there with my grandmother and I peered, what I saw was there was no Marines, and I said, Grandma, I'm going to put a Marine up there. So that was kind of the next step. I got out of school and I went in the Marine Corps, and right away, within a few days, I realized, man, there was some stuff that I did in high school and in the Boy Scouts that is going to help me be successful in the Marine Corps. I learned, some survival techniques. I learned how to sleep alone out in the woods. There was an event in the Boy Scouts called the Order of the Arrow, where they snatched me a bunch of Indians and put me out in the middle of the woods, and I had to survive overnight on my own with a fish hook. And so the things that I was learning in the Marine Corps, I fell right into, and I loved it. Then when you get out of boot camp, you go out in the fleet, and I was fortunate enough, because of some of the things that I was learning in the Boy Scouts and with my mom. My mom was an instructor, a wood badge instructor, and she taught adult leaders. And she would include me, this kid, in training, and I would help her design the training. We'd make sure that it was lots of activities and interactive, and I would help her to facilitate the training and run activities and do things like that. So that was super exciting as a kid to be involved in that. But I did not realize at that time that now that I'm in the Marine Corps, it's going to help me to become an NCO instructor, a non-commissioned officer instructor, where I'm teaching, JJ Did Tie Buckle, which are all the leadership traits and principles as a Marine. I was teaching those things that I learned in the Boy Scouts and from my mom to other Marines, and teaching leadership skills. So it was It was great. We went off to Desert Storm, and then after Desert Storm, it was time for re-enlistment. You know, when I enlisted, I went into the recruiter's office. I want 20 years. All my family's military and a lot of retired, and that's where I want to be. And I don't want to go to college because that's not for me. The recruiter said, I can't give you 20 years. Well, what I can give you is 8. You want to sign up for 8? I was like, yeah, I'll take it. I'll take 8. Well, what the 8 really was 6 years active duty, 2 years in active reserve, which I found out later, but I didn't really understand that. Anyway, when my 6-year enlistment came to an end after Desert Storm, I was what was called, I was a forward air control radio operator. So I would go out in the field and call in airstrikes and do a lot of really cool things, bringing helicopters into landing zones and dropping troops off and extracting them, and going out with air controllers that called in artillery strikes and things like that. It was quite an exciting job, right? Well, when I went to re-enlist, they said, Mark, force retention, which means we kept a lot of people in your MOS because of Desert Storm, and thinking that if we had a lot of casualties, radio operators would be one of the first casualties to go. Your MOS, your military occupational specialty, it's overfilled. There's so many people in there. It could be years before you get promoted. So what we'd like you to do is consider either being an Amtracker or a tanker. And we think that'd be a great lateral move. You could move into one of those positions, you'll get promoted real quickly. And I looked at it, I'm like, there's got to be, again, that feeling inside my gut. There's got to be something more. I could feel, those feelings I had in school. There's something more. There's something more. And I decided, I guess as much as I love the Marine Corps, I'm going to step out and try something different. So I went into the civilian world, and I took my first job in a fast track management program. It'll take 1 year, and you're gonna, in 1 year, you'll get promoted to a store manager. You'll run a store. You'll have about 10 or 15 employees. Stores did a few $1 million a year, and that's your career path. Within the first 60 days, I had been promoted to my first position, which was senior assistant manager. So I was number 2 in charge of the store. 30 days later, so that's 90 days of my year path, I was promoted to store manager. So all that stuff that I had been learning about leadership in the Boy Scouts, leadership in the Marine Corps, helped me to get through that leadership program from 1 year into 90 days. So I started running my own store, and my store became something for my district manager. It became a place where the struggling, the lost, the people who were having challenges would come to my store and get transferred, and the district manager would have told me, hey, you either need to make them or help them find another job. Make them be successful or help them find another job. And I was getting double-digit comp increases, and my stores were always achieving max potential. And what I had learned as a store manager and in the Marine Corps, when somebody else is doing something better, you call them and find out what they're doing. Hey, when it comes to add-on sales, how do you get so many add-on sales? When it comes to gross margin, how do you get your gross margin so high? And conversely, when people were doing it low, you call and offer them help. Hey, I see you got a challenge there with your add-on sales. Let me give you an idea. Or I see that you have a challenge there with your turnover. It looks like you're losing a lot of people. Let's talk about it. What can we do? How can I help you, right? So those things of seeking out other people to learn information or reaching out to other people to help them, all it did was just make me a better leader. And then I was getting all these new people into my store to help them become better people and teach them leadership skills and teach them, just how to succeed, basically. And then on top of that, he would send store managers to me, potential, not yet, and say, hey, Mark, train this guy. I want him to be my next store manager. And I don't know, I probably trained 15 or 20 store manager in a few years time frame. And so that was great. But again, that feeling came over me of there's something more. What am I doing? I enjoyed what I was doing. I was very successful at what I was doing. But as I looked around at my peers and other store managers, what I realized is most of them, they're in their 40s and maybe even older. I'm a 20-something-year-old kid just out of the Marine Corps. I'm looking at 20, 30 years before I can become a district manager. My district manager's in his 50s. What am I going to do? So I started thinking about that, and I'm soul searching, going, there's a path. What's the path to go to the next step? And fortunately, I was being recruited out of my store from another large home improvement company, It's like a Home Depot or a Lowe's. It was called Home Base. And they came to my store and recruited me to come in to be a district trainer. So I started training managers at Home Base. And again, got promoted very quickly and ended up being a management trainer for general managers, where what I would do is run them through assessment centers to assess what their competencies and capabilities are, to see if they had the potential to be a store general manager running a multi-million-dollar store with 200 to 300 employees in it. I would write leadership development training programs and put all those general managers through those programs, and I would track their development and keep them on track with their development, what they were doing. And I really enjoyed that, and I achieved, over the years that I was doing that, probably about an 85% promotion rate of people that would go into the program and then get promoted to general manager. Now, they still had to be interviewed and prove their value and all that. It was more than just going through training. They had to demonstrate they had the knowledge, skills, and abilities to take over a store. Then Lowe's decided that they wanted to expand across the whole United States. So as Lowe's is deciding to expand across the United States, they're wiping out, regional home improvement centers left and right. And unfortunately, Home Base was a casualty of that, and we had to shut down. And again, as that was happening, a cool thing was, there, and it was exciting because we had a large company. There were, regional managers, vice presidents, executives, going all over to some great companies throughout Southern California, and they were all trying to recruit me. Hey, Mark, come work for us here. Hey, Mark, put an interview in here. Mark, here's an opportunity there, which was great. That was wonderful. But again, there's got to be something better. So what am I going to do? Do I go to another company where I potentially am going to have to look for a job again? Or I really enjoy serving people and helping to develop leaders, and I want to work for all these people. They're all great people. How do I pick which one I want to work for? That's when I started my first consulting company, my training consulting company. It was called Tactical Training Solutions. And, I had clients, some wonderful clients, dream clients, they would call them, right? Disney. Who doesn't want to work for Disney? I went in and helped write a leadership program for emerging leaders at Disney. Pacific Sunwear, a retailer at that time, was making nearly $1 billion. They had stores all over the country. It's a little bit different now that Amazon has hit them, but a fantastic leader. Learned so much from the CEO at that company, and watching his management style and being inclusive and working with his people and making on-the-spot decisions. What a great CEO. And then Southern California Edison and National Grid and so many other great companies out there that I was able to go in and design what they considered to be their strategic advantage. We were going to invest thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars into some of these leadership development programs and put people through them. So I would do an assessment of what the needs of the organization were, design the training for the organization, and then facilitate the training for the managers that were selected. It was an exclusive group of people that would go through these trainings. And again, as I'm doing this for years, this went on for 15 years or so. There's something better here. There's another path. This exclusive program, what I was realizing and have realized today, is it's excluding everybody else. Yes, we're helping the company and we're developing the best of the best. We're looking for the great people that had great potential, but there's a lot of people being left in the winds that didn't know the path. They didn't have the Boy Scouts. They didn't have the Marine Corps. They didn't have maybe leadership training in college or from their parents. So they don't necessarily know what it is that they're missing out on. What are the techniques and what are the models that I can use to improve myself as a person, and what's the path that I should go on so that I can be a great leader and advance in my career? Well, as I looked at that, I realized that I think I have an epiphany here. We need to serve those people. We need to do something better and give them more than just going to a course. There's so many courses out there. There are courses everywhere. If you want to learn how to deal with conflict, you go to a course, you pay a few $100 to $1,000 and you get that course, right? If you want to learn whatever the new buzz is, you go to that course and you'll learn the new buzz. But being a leader is a holistic thing, and it's a path. You need a map to guide you down that path, and you need a compass to make sure that as that map changes and the weather changes and the environment changes and the customers change, the economic situation changes, whatever's happening, you got to have a compass to help redirect you and keep you going north, to keep you succeeding when the math isn't going necessarily in the right direction, right? So what I've done is I've put together an amazing program. It's based on King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. The Knights of the Round Table was about being inclusive, where most leadership programs are exclusive because they are exclusively great for the people that are in them, but exclude a whole lot of other people. This program allows anybody to get into it and take the path and get on the path to leadership, to change your future. Now, it's going to be dependent on you because it's only a path. If you get on this path, you've got to take the steps. You've got to, find out what your strengths are, leverage those strengths, and work to the best of your ability to execute those strengths. But you also have to do some self-assessment and see what are the things that I can, make some minor tweaks and do a little bit better. But at least learn what it is I need to do so that I can advance my career and be a great leader, right? There are 6 steps on this path to King Arthur's Round Table, a path to leadership. And the first step is begin the journey. That's the first training. The first training that you'll receive is begin the journey. And it's going to talk about, what it takes to get on this path and, following your map and identifying your values that you can follow that compass. The next step after that is the step to self-management and self-trust, right? That you have the confidence to move forward and you can make the right choices and understand what your value system is so that you make good choices. We all fall off the path and we make poor decisions every now and again. The question is, what do we do about it when we make them? Do we know where the map is? Do we have the compass to keep us going down the correct path? And then as we learn more about ourselves and we can manage ourselves and demonstrate that we have the capabilities to manage ourselves, the next piece of that path is providing value to others, right? Inspiring others, providing value to your organization, providing value to your customers. So step 1, begin the journey, take the first step. Step 2, self-management and self-trust, building your confidence. Step 3 on the path, providing value to others. Be worthy of leadership, be worthy of a promotion, etc. Then, as you follow these steps and become a better person and a better leader, and you're inspiring others and taking great care of customers, you'll get promoted or be looked at for a promotion, and that's the emerging leader. You'll be put in charge of potentially projects or special things, or get a lead title or something like that, right? It's the emerging leader. When you start learning how to deal with others, how to communicate with them, how to coach them, how to inspire them, how to hold them accountable. All of those types of things are step 4, the emerging leader step. And now each of these steps, by the way, they're not just a class. There's several different courses or modules built into it, and some of those modules are from 4 hours to 40 hours. There's tons of information, including map packs, your Compass journal, activities, online support, webinars, lots of different support things to help you go through these courses and down this path. Then, after you've completed step 4, the emerging leader, and you're now in a position and you're actually managing teams and people, and you've got a title of manager, you're in the developing leader phase. Now, don't get me wrong here. This path, you can go through this path and this learning and not necessarily get the promotions, or vice versa. You could have been promoted and never had the training and start and get to where you need to be. So the training and where you're at in life are different swim lanes. You don't have to swim down the lanes at the same time. Your career can advance down one lane, your training can advance down the other lane. And if you need to, refresh or learn something faster to advance your career, you can do that. Or you can skip and jump around pieces if you've had some of this training in the past, right? So it's all dependent upon where you're at within your career. Now, I've got step 4, the emerging leader. The next phase is the developing leader, and that's where I'm actually leading people, and I've got that title of manager. The final step is master leader. And where the master leader is he's now running an organization
he's running his own business, or she's running a division, or she's training other leaders to be leaders. That's the master leader, right? Master leader, we now are involved in masterminds, where we're bringing some of the greatest leaders together to help educate each other and teach each other, right? Because the power of many is much greater than just listening to some other stuff, right? We can all share best practices and great ideas and what's working and what's not working. And that's one of those things that I learned in that first job that I got out of the Marine Corps, right? How do you get better? Call stores that are doing great, ask them what they're doing. Call stores that aren't doing so great, see what they're doing so I don't do it, right? That's the idea of a mastermind. We all do that. We all get better together. So, this program, King Arthur's, Roundtable, A Path to Leadership, it's a culmination of over 30 years of me helping companies develop, assess their training needs, design and develop their training programs, and then facilitate those training programs. Watching people progress throughout their careers and reach higher levels of achievement, seeing people get promoted into great positions. Now it's exclusively inclusive of everybody, right? Anybody can go through this training program to learn about people and processes and performance and how to be a great leader. The program it's so very affordable. And I encourage you to, start the path, take that first training and learn more about the program. I really appreciate you taking the time to let me introduce you to, the Knights of the Round Table, A Path to Leadership, and the training opportunity that's before you. If you're interested in learning more, click below and keep going on the path, and I'll see you again at the next training.